Every pair of pants my mom owns has a small hole. It's just to make it easier to serve the strong men in our family. My dad doesn't even mind that my mom put a green hat on him. He even let me, who had just turned 10, give it a try. Because for 18 generations our family has shared one wife. Grandpa used her, then my dad. After my dad it was my turn. She didn't just help us continue the family line. She also provided a way for our ancestors to make a living in the underworld. During the Republican era my great-grandfather worked as a wandering tradesman. During the war, when people were destitute, my great-great-grandfather read fortunes on the streets. After liberation, when everything was rebuilding, my grandfather practiced feng shui. In the 70s, during rapid development, my father became a ritual priest. But when it came to my generation I held a bag of explosives. I wanted to physically destroy this ancestral wife. Because of her existence, every generation of the Liu family hasn't lived past 39. To break this curse, I had to uncover this woman's origins, or find her real descendants to take her away. This is what my father told me before he died. At this moment I'm standing before her golden coffin with explosives. I thought about blowing up both her and the coffin, knowing that the Liu family would end with me. I calmed myself down and started studying how to break the curse. I remembered what my father said when he was alive. Our family's skill of making a living from the underworld came from this golden coffin. I am quite knowledgeable about coffins. Coffins come in 5 colors: yellow, red, black, white and gold. Yellow coffins are for those with living elders, praying for their health and longevity. Red coffins are for elderly people who pass away peacefully at old age. They represent celebration. Black coffins are for those who die unnaturally. They symbolize mourning. White coffins are for unmarried young women or boys who die young. Gold coffins are designed for royalty, symbolizing nobility and power. This golden coffin is larger than the standard size. It's made of premium golden nanmu wood and coated with gold dust. I tapped on the coffin lid. A deep sound made me sigh. It's the sound of wealth. But that's not all. The sides of the coffin are carved with figures. Beautiful women in flowing robes. There are 7 of them in different poses. Each one looks lifelike, elegant and splendid. But 2 things feel unsettling. First, the women's eyes are not detailed. Their hollow gaze exudes an eerie chill. Secondly, all 7 women depicted in the carvings were being tortured. Each corresponded to one of the 7 most severe punishments for women in ancient times. Yet their expressions remained oddly seductive. The artistic style felt completely out of place. Additionally, at the bottom of the coffin there was a burning kerosene lamp. The large oil tank was filled to the brim, enough to last 2 to 3 years. My father once told me that the eternal lamp beneath the golden coffin must never go out. All the mysteries could be unraveled from the golden coffin, but after studying it for days I found no clues. For generations the golden coffin had been a taboo in our family, forbidden to touch. But now I was all alone and could no longer care about such rules. I carefully examined the golden coffin from top to bottom. It featured straight walls and an arched top. A typical design for noble consorts' coffins from the Tang and Song dynasties. Touching the coffin I felt an intense chill, indicating the presence of some anti-corrosion substance inside. The golden coffin was well sealed. Its seams were filled with resin. The coffin nails were flat-headed and immovable. To open it I would need to use brute force. Most importantly, at the base of the coffin I discovered 2 lines of tiny characters obscured by grime. One line read, Miao Guifei's daughter Wei Ru. Year of Xianping 4 died from abuse by her husband. The other line stated, to awaken after 1,000 years. 100 ghosts claiming brides, the people in despair. Murmuring to myself I stood up. The identity of the coffin's occupant was confirmed. But this era was too far removed from the present. Xianping seemed to be a reign title from the Song dynasty. Find Wei Ru's descendants. I first had to determine who she married. Also, how could she awaken after 1,000 years? And when exactly was the 4th year of Xianping? I needed to figure this out quickly. However, just as I was about to leave, I heard a sudden bang from the coffin behind me. I shuddered slightly and turned to look. The golden coffin was shaking violently. The unusual movement of the coffin excited me. I quickly crouched in front of it to examine closely. But before long the golden coffin calmed down. At the same time a yellowed ancient book fell out of the coffin. Looking at the book on the ground, I suddenly realized that all my ancestors' skills for making a living must have come through this channel. And my livelihood skills must also be in this ancient book. The book's cover read, The Great Yin Livelihood Manual. This book seems to contain all the trades within the yin livelihood field. With it I could master every skill, and become an expert in both yin and yang arts. But it would also come with a curse. If I don't learn it, it won't cost me my life. Thinking this I muttered angrily, and left the cellar. But soon after I regretted it. Locking the cellar door I climbed back to my room. I dug out my old middle school history textbook. After some calculations I arrived at the result. The 4th year of Xianping is the year 1000, which means that from then to now it's exactly 1000 years. This means Wei Ru will awaken sometime this year, but I don't know the exact day. Since I know nothing about the yin livelihood trade, the only way to understand might be that ancient book. While eating I kept pondering the matter. The words at the bottom of the coffin didn't seem baseless. If Wei Ru truly awakens one day, it could spell disaster for the living. My ancestors lived off the yin livelihood, but their work also benefited the living world. In my generation I can't tarnish their reputation. To resolve this I must act before Wei Ru awakens. Find her descendants and let them take her away. That ancient book might hold the answers I need. After careful consideration, I decided to go back to the cellar and take a closer look. Just then someone knocked on the courtyard door. At the same time a gentle female voice called out, "Excuse me, is the owner here?" "Who is it?" I responded while running to open the door, thinking it might be a new customer. But the moment I opened the door I froze. Standing outside was a young woman, fashionable and stunningly sexy. Her tight-fitting dress accentuated her perfect curves. She clearly wasn't from around here. But what shocked me wasn't her beauty. It was her facial features. They were identical to the woman carved on the golden coffin. Could she be a descendant of Wei Ru? The girl waved her hand in front of my face, seeing my daze. "Excuse me, are you the owner?" I snapped out of it and quickly nodded. "Yes, are you a descendant of Wei Ru?" "Wei Ru? Are you talking about Princess Wei Ru of the Song Dynasty?" The girl tilted her head, puzzled. "Yes, could you tell me more about her in detail?" Of course, the girl said, walking in uninvited. As she looked around the courtyard at the coffins she began to speak in detail. Wei Ru was the only daughter of Emperor Renzong's favorite consort of the Southern Song Dynasty. She was titled Princess Fukong, and was Emperor Renzong's most beloved daughter. But to repay a debt of gratitude, Emperor Renzong married Wei Ru to Ji Wei, the second son of a great general. Ji Wei was ugly and had violent tendencies. Wei Ru didn't like him at all. To express her displeasure, Wei Ru once escaped from the Ji family estate. This act directly broke the strictest filial piety rules of the Song Dynasty, causing an uproar of criticism. So how did she die in the end? The girl shrugged and continued. Due to public opinion, Emperor Renzong sent Wei Ru back. Returning to the Ji family estate, Wei Ru resisted fiercely, refusing to submit to Ji Wei. 2 months later Emperor Renzong passed away. Wei Ru, only 23 years old, was tortured to death by Ji Wei. It's so tragic. Hearing this story I frowned and wanted to ask more. But the girl pointed at one of the coffins and asked, "How much is this coffin?" She was pointing at a white coffin. White coffins are used to bury unmarried young women or boys who died young. 1,500, 500 as a deposit. Free delivery within 10 kilometers. The remaining payment upon delivery. After quoting the price I added, "But I should remind you, white coffins come with specific traditions." Hearing this the girl smiled and said, "I know, this white coffin is for myself." Hearing this my expression turned heavy. Her meaning was clear. She was the unmarried girl destined to die soon. But she looked perfectly normal and healthy. Still the girl seemed cheerful. She explained that she studied history, and was particularly interested in funeral customs. She knew white coffins were used for young women and boys who died young. Nowadays it's rare to find a ready-made white coffin, and she only had 49 days left. Hearing this I asked, "That precise?" The girl nodded and said, "I was born precisely at midnight on Ghost Festival. A cursed lone star destined to meet death. My 20th birthday marks the calamity I cannot escape." I didn't fully understand what she meant. "I'll take this white coffin," she said while pulling out her wallet, counting out 500 yuan bills and handing them to me, along with a piece of paper. "This is the address. Deliver the coffin to this location at midnight tomorrow." After watching her leave, I pulled out the paper tucked with the money. The name field read Li Yiru. The surname Li matched Wei Ru's husband Li Wei, and her name even carried the same Ru character as Wei Ru. She also looked exactly like the carved beauty on the coffin walls. So many coincidences couldn't just be coincidences. I closed the courtyard door and immediately headed to the cellar. It seemed I had no choice but to accept the yin livelihood offered by Wei Ru. Standing before the golden coffin I didn't hesitate. I picked up the ancient book **, the Great Yin Livelihood Manual. As I suspected, it contained every profession under the yin livelihood system. But upon flipping through it I found that apart from coffin craftsman and celestial master the other professions were blank. It seemed I had misunderstood. I couldn't take on the trades of my ancestors. Only coffin craftsman and celestial master were mine to claim. But since I was already a coffin craftsman, it wouldn't help solve my current problems. So I shifted my focus to the celestial master profession. The words in the ancient book seemed to carry a magical quality. Wherever my eyes landed the characters broke down into simple understandable diagrams, which then quickly imprinted themselves in my mind. Without realizing it I spent the entire day studying. When I opened my eyes again it was already the next night. My head throbbed as if it were splitting apart. But fortunately I had mastered the celestial master's skills. However, the amount of information was overwhelming and would take time to process. To become a proper celestial master I also needed to improve my physical fitness. Luckily the celestial master's manual included a method for body training. I finally understood why my ancestors were able to thrive in these trades. It wasn't their innate talent, it was the golden coffin feeding them opportunities. Of course the price was equally significant. I glanced at the clock, it was already past 10 at night. It was time to deliver the coffin to Li Yiru. After the insights gained from the ancient book, I now had some ideas about Li Yiru's situation. What she called a death calamity didn't necessarily mean a certain death. This extreme yin fate from being born on Ghost Festival could result in either blessings or disasters. And now that I was a beginner celestial master, subduing ghosts and demons fit perfectly with my expertise. At that moment I stood up and the headache vanished mysteriously. My vision also became several times sharper. I immediately realized I had opened my heavenly eye. Just as I was about to leave, the ancient book that had been in my hand suddenly disappeared. Puzzled, I glanced at the golden coffin and made a startling discovery. On the left side of the coffin, the carving of the beauty on the wooden horse punishment now had eyes that were fully detailed and vivid. Curious, I reached out to wipe the eyes. They felt perfectly natural, yet they didn't seem freshly painted. I wiped the adjacent carving of the beauty in the pig cage punishment, but the hollow eyes remained untouched. Could the open eyes of the beauty signify an ominous sign? Muttering to myself, I left the cellar. Time was tight, so I called a tractor from the village to haul the white coffin to the address Li Yiru had given me. The driver, my coffin-making mentor, looked surprised when he heard where I was going. 13. The address you gave me is the home of the richest family in town. To my knowledge they only have one daughter. Why would they need a white coffin? Hearing this, I explained. That's right, master. It was their daughter herself who came to order it yesterday. She said it was because of a death calamity, that she couldn't get past her 20th birthday. Something like that? The master gave me a shocked look. I nodded, but I still haven't fully figured this out. It's hard to jump to conclusions. Before long we arrived at the address Li Yiru had provided. By now it was close to midnight. The courtyard was brightly lit but eerily silent inside. A strange black mist hovered over the rooftop, radiating an inexplicable eeriness. This is yin energy. Something bad is bound to happen tonight. After getting off the tractor, the large golden iron gate slowly opened. Li Yiru, still dressed seductively, appeared at the door. The moment I saw her, I frowned deeply. A faint black mist covered her face. It looked very strange. My master didn't seem to notice anything unusual. He continued smiling as he asked, "Miss Li, should we leave the coffin outside or bring it in?" Without expression and with a flat tone, Li Yiru replied, "Inside." Then she turned and walked away. I watched her back as I took a deep breath. Her figure was alluring but stiff. Stiff like a corpse. It seemed my heavenly eye not only allowed me to distinguish spirits and demons, but also revealed truths hidden from others. The calamity surrounding Li Yiru wasn't caused by a demon but by a ghost. The energy around her was yin, not demonic. After bringing the coffin into the courtyard, we placed it on 2 long benches prepared in advance. Coffins shouldn't be placed directly on the ground, as tradition dictates that touching the ground means burial. Even in my shop, coffins were either propped on benches or leaned against a wall. After setting the coffin in place with my master, no one from the Li family came out. Not even Li Yiru came to pay the remaining amount. My master wanted to call someone, but I stopped him. Seeing my serious expression, my master seemed to understand. "Master, tonight we're just delivering the coffin. Once it's placed we leave. If Li Yiru doesn't come out to pay, I'll come back for the balance tomorrow." Right now I was just a novice celestial master. While my heavenly eye allowed me to see yin energy and demonic energy, I didn't yet have the means to deal with a ghost capable of possession. Moreover, I wasn't sure how many were inside the villa, as the dense yin energy enveloping it was overwhelming. Just as my master and I were preparing to leave, a voice called out from behind us, "Wait, I'll pay you." I turned to see Li Yiru walking over slowly, her face shrouded in black mist. She held a red envelope in her hand. I quickly got out of the vehicle and approached her. Her gaze was hollow, unfocused, and her movements were stiff and eerie. I reached out to take the envelope, feeling a bit nervous, half expecting her to suddenly lunge and bite my neck. Thankfully nothing happened. I quickly turned and got back into the vehicle, motioning to my master to leave. In my mind I was already thinking about acquiring some talismans. Without tools, whether dealing with demons or ghosts, I could only hide. This was the first time I'd seen someone pay for a coffin with a red envelope. I opened it and pulled out the cash inside, only to find it was hell banknotes. Why is this hell money? What is Miss Li trying to pull on us? Let's go back and confront her. My master, frustrated, slowed down and prepared to turn the vehicle around. I stuffed the hell money back into the envelope and said, "Master, let's head back for now. I'll come back in the morning to collect the money. The Li family is wealthy. They won't default on just 1,000 yuan. Back at the coffin shop, an intense wave of hunger hit me. I locked the courtyard gate and rushed to the kitchen. When I opened the pantry, I was shocked to find all my leftovers gone. All that remained were empty bowls licked clean. A chill ran down my spine and I quickly ran toward the bedroom. Someone broke in. In this coffin shop, the most valuable and important thing was the golden coffin in the cellar. When I reached the bedroom, my heart sank. The cellar hatch had been opened, but the lock hadn't been forcefully broken. The intruder was skilled at picking locks. Grabbing a wooden pole from beside the door, I hurried into the cellar. Seeing the eternal lamp still lit, I let out a sigh of relief. I wasn't worried about the golden coffin being opened. Only Wei Ru's descendants could open it. What I feared was the intruder extinguishing the eternal lamp. My father had repeatedly warned me that the lamp must never go out, as extinguishing it would lead to severe consequences. That's when I noticed a large figure lying next to the golden coffin. To be precise, it was a big man. He was over 2 meters tall, with a burly build like a bull. Clearly he had tried to open the golden coffin, but had been knocked unconscious by its malevolent aura. This was the consequence of trying to force it open. He would now suffer a serious illness, and the cure for this illness was something only I knew. I put down the pole and walked over to the big man. Squatting down, I slapped him hard across the face. The big man's eyes shot open and he cursed weakly, "What the hell?" His voice was feeble and soft. I chuckled and said, staring at him, "You've got guts. Stealing from 13's coffin shop, are you?" Hearing me call myself 13, the big man immediately fell to his knees with a thud. "You're saying you're 13? My name is Tank. I'm here to work for you. Please, you have to take me in." I was baffled by his words. Is this guy trying to play tricks on me? Stop wasting time and tell me who you are. Tank remained silent for a moment before he began to explain. Tank's real name was Wang Defa. His great-grandfather Wang San was a tomb raider. During one expedition he was severely afflicted by malevolent energy. It was my great-grandfather who went to great lengths to cure him. Since then Wang San had followed my great-grandfather closely. Later during a war the two got separated while fleeing. But the Wang family's loyalty to the Liu family never wavered. Wang Defa's father and grandfather also continued the tomb raiding trade. They helped gather information about the golden coffin. By Tank's generation most tomb raiders had either been caught or had switched professions. Before his father passed away he instructed Tank to find me and bring the information they had collected about the golden coffin. Half believing, I asked, "Where's the information?" Tank pulled an old envelope from his pocket. 13, there's even a handwritten note from your great-grandfather inside. You can verify it. I took the envelope and opened it. Inside were 2 sheets of paper. One was coarse paper with calligraphy. The other, written in pen, was by Tank's father. The investigation notes weren't very detailed. They mentioned a possible location for the golden coffin's tomb. It also confirmed the identity of the coffin's occupant. Additionally, it explained the origins of the golden coffin and its burial items. The golden coffin was arranged by a famous Song Dynasty celestial master Wang Yixian. The burial items were the legacy of Master Wang Yixian. He intended for Wei Ru to inherit his legacy and pass it on 1,000 years later. Tank also brought half of a double fish jade pendant. He said Wei Ru's descendants had the other half. When combined the 2 pieces would form a complete pendant. This complete pendant was the key to opening the golden coffin. The bottom of the golden coffin did indeed have a groove. It turned out it was meant for the jade pendant. This information filled in many gaps in my knowledge. The note left by my great-grandfather was a simple poem. After reading it I frowned deeply. The poem suggested that I should marry the woman in the coffin, live a long life together and have children. I folded the note and put it back in the envelope. Then I reached out to help Tank up. He was here to help me. For someone as inexperienced as I was,